I have started the recording.
Thank you, Ava. Okay, let's get started. We are going to come back to roll call. And so let's start with our check-ins and updates. And what I'd like to do with this is, because I know we do have some new commissioners, is formulate this around what I refer to it as the rose, thorn, and bud check-in, which means the rose is something positive that you want to highlight, that's either in your personal life or professional. Thorn is a challenge or something that didn't go so well in your personal life or professional. And bud is something that you're looking forward to, or perhaps an opportunity that's coming forward. So, who would like to start?
I can jump in if no one else wants to.
Great, thank you.
Um, let's see. Rose. Rose is the good thing, right?
Yeah, something positive that you want to highlight or discuss.
I'm kind of backwards to a lot of my fellow legislators. The good news is that it's only 6 months till we're back in session, and I can't wait to be back in session because then I just have one job, which I'm working hard on getting concepts ready. I think the thorn is that I'll take this opportunity to highlight your citizen legislature roles right now are, we work full time, even though when we're not in session, and there are some of us who work full time outside of session. And for those that don't know, I'm a firefighter. I have a rare day off today, and it's just been a really bad season so far, and it's going to get worse. And I'm very busy. I haven't had a shift where I've had more than 10 minutes of sleep in about a month. So,
Oh,
um,
goodness.
yeah, so there's that. And then the bud, just related to some of what we're going to talk about, is that Representative Hartman and I have been talking, and I think we're really excited to bring back some concepts around domestic violence that haven't gone all the way, or some new concepts like coercive control legislation that Oregon doesn't have. So just some exciting things that I'm really looking forward to working with her on and supporting her, and seeing if we can get those across the line.
Fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you. Who's next? Please jump in. Should we just go down how about Vice Chair Rico? Are you there?
Yes, I can go.
Okay.
Okay, so the rose, something positive. Um, let's see, what's something really positive? I got 2 new puppies, and they are incredibly cute. They're 2 little Yorkie brothers. And they have made my life so happy. They're people think I am maybe not super smart getting 2 little puppies at the same time, but I can tell you that they're just such a joy to watch. They're so funny, and they get into what I call puppy WWE because they just like wrestle each other, and it is so funny to watch. They're tiny little guys. So that's something really positive. Love those 2. A thorn, something not great. I mean, I would just say the heaviness of the moment. I don't know if anybody else can relate, but everything just feels so super heavy with elections coming up, with climate change just affecting so many cities with the heat wave. Just it feels there's like a deep heaviness in the air, and so I think that's something that I've just been feeling recently, just the heaviness of the moment. And something that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the Pride Parade on Sunday. Portland is having a Pride Parade, so I'm really excited about it. I think it always just brings me so much joy, and I get to go with friends and family, and it's just a moment of positivity and kindness and just community. So, yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to on Sunday.
Great. thank you. Co-Chair Ford, are you available?
Yeah. Rose for me, I had a great bike ride. I did the most I've done this summer. Some of you know I got my hip replaced, so this is my first summer like really riding. So I got up to 52 miles today, so pretty excited about that. Thorn, I don't know, I got a lot of thorns. I try to minimize my contact with the thorns, but I would say on my ride, it was a couple like thorns that passed me. You know, cyclists can be really elitist, and the things they say when they pass you are a little thorny. So yeah, that probably didn't make me excited in those moments. But Bud, I would say super excited about the work we're doing at Women's Foundation of Oregon. We've got some new board members I'm excited about, and we just try to impact our ecosystem as best as we can. So that's mine.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Sancho, is she available?
She is not in attendance today.
Oh, she's not here today? Okay. Commissioner Chapman.
Hi. Yeah. My rose is I had a baby. My thorn is that I'm very short-staffed at work, and my hope is that I'm going to recruit new people. Thanks.
Hey, that's great. Thank you. Commissioner Konev.
Not in attendance yet.
Not yet? Okay. What about Representative Graber?
She went first.
Yeah, I went.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going right down the line here. Okay. And Senator Patterson is not here. Is Commissioner Hansberger on?
Not yet.
Okay. What about staff? Do you guys have anything you'd like to open up with?
Sure. I'll definitely jump in. So, a rose is something good. So I'm actually on vacation right now. So I'll say that's my rose. My thorn is a lot of the requirements as a state agency that we're working through right now. So one of those being the budget narrative. That's part of the budget build process for ARB, or the agency request budget. And that is a sense of frustration for the moment. We are an early submittal agency, so we do have to get that in by the end of this month. So that is definitely my thorn. And the bud that I'll use for today is actually starting to plan the framework for our joint commission meeting sometime later this year on August 30th. So I think that's something that I'm looking forward to over the next couple of weeks. I'll pass it on to one of my other staff, whoever would like to jump in.
How about Saba? Are you available?
I am. I am happy to go. My rose is that I just planned a vacation to Hawaii in September. I'm really excited for that. I'd say my thorn is just kind of documenting process within my position, just kind of creating a desk manual for this position. So that's going to be a while. And my bud is probably same as Terrence, working on some of the future events like the joint meeting, and the Commission on Hispanic Affairs proclamation, things like that for the end of this year. So that's getting me through the summer. And I'll pass it off to Kyle.
Thanks, Saba. My rose right now, and I'll let me talk about it more, is I'm just really excited in the direction that the domestic violence subcommittee is moving. It just feels like it's really blossoming, and we're getting into the right networks there. So that's really exciting, and I'll share more about that. My thorn is feeling like I don't have enough time or means to do the stuff. Really realizing that, like, oh, maybe I'm a specialist and right now I'm a generalist. And that is an interesting, like, challenge to navigate of like finding comfort in the generalist phase. And then my bud is just really feeling excited that every single commission has voted on priorities, which is just, it gives so much more runway and structure to be able to support folks and feel like we can have wins. So that's feeling good. Pass it on to Grace.
Hi, everybody. My name is Grace. My pronouns are she, her. I would say my rose. Oh, by the way, I work on the health equity team. My rose is that the health equity team used to have about 110 recommendations, and we have shortened down our short list to about 22, so it can help us go further and longer and be more specific. Then my thorn is that I kind of have a migraine right now. I'll push through it because it's Friday. And then my bud would be that we stopped having equity action group meetings in the hopes that we'll have subcommittees. So a lot more focus and specific work and just planning those subcommittees so that they can be meaningful, and also paying folks for their time and lived experience is a huge bud for me that I'm excited to explore. So I'll go ahead and pass it to Kai.
Hi everyone. My name is Kai. I use they them pronouns, and I'm the other project facilitator for the health equity team. My rose is I feel like I've got my finger in a lot of really good community work pies that are being built. One of which is the kickoff for the OHA Realty Soji work group to improve data disaggregation, and yeah, just really lovely to be in that space last night and excited to be able to report back to the agency about that good work that is happening. My thorn, I think similarly, I need to replicate myself uh and turn down the heat in the outside world if I had a superpower. And my thorn or my bud is I will be tabling if anybody is swinging by, especially through the Trans Pride March setup in the park blocks around too. I'll be tabling for the Q Center. Would love to say hello. We'll have popsicles and squirt guns and lots of fun things. So it would be lovely to see some of you there.
Great, thank you. What do we have, Ava? Is that who we have left?
Yeah, thank you. My rose is, I don't know, some of you may know this about me, maybe you don't, but I play golf, and I'm still a fairly new convert to golf, like within the last decade. And it's kind of like the thing that it's my happy space. And there is a scholarship program here in the state of Oregon that allows high school students to caddy during the summer. And if they complete so many hours of this work, they get a full scholarship.
Wow.
To Oregon University. And a young man who caddied for me last summer comes from a fairly financially struggling environment, and it is his dream to be a doctor. And I found out just a few weeks ago that he actually got a full ride scholarship to Yale University.
Wow. That's
and
amazing.
He sent me a little bulldog, a little stuffed bulldog, which I'm just so proud of him. I mean, I don't have children, but this would be my child. I'm just as proud of him as his parents are. And so that's my rose. My thorn is some pretty heavy things going on right now for me. And it's kind of got my mind pulled in multiple directions. And so that's kind of what's, without going into detail, just really deep in thought a lot of times. And my bud is that I have hope because I've been in a bad place before and you can't keep me down. That's my bud. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Ava. Has Commissioner Hansberger joined us? Not yet? No? Okay, well, I'll
Nope.
share mine. My rose is moving, and it's been, I keep saying this is my forever home. It's just beautiful and I love it. Although the biggest lie I tell myself is like, oh, I'll remember that of where I packed something, even though I just packed it yesterday and moved it. I have no idea where anything is. Let's see. Excuse me, my thorn is, gosh, kind of being pulled in many different directions with my dad's estate. I don't know if many of you knew that my dad passed away just a couple months ago, and it's just been a challenge trying to navigate this whole world of medical bills and um, 3 properties that he had with no will, and then going from having 2 homes myself to now 6 with his properties. It's just been being pulled in many, many directions. And the good news, though, is that I did hire a probate attorney who's actually taking a lot off my plate. So that's been very helpful. My bud is really to witness the exciting work that this domestic violence subcommittee is doing. I think I shared at the committee that I grew up in a household where there was domestic violence, and it was very difficult. And it's just amazes me that we are, 50 some years later, or I guess probably 40 some years later, and we're still talking about some of the same things. I just wish that it just didn't exist, of course, but have a lot of hope and a lot of excitement around that subcommittee work, and I can't wait to see what happens with it. Speaking of that, let's move on to subcommittee reports. And Vice Chair Rico, are you available to give an update on the domestic awareness month? I guess it is, right?
I think Kyle and I will be doing this one together. I don't know if we want to switch out the agenda real quick so that the bulk of the update that Kyle is going to give our commission can be in one bit. I don't know if there's anything, Kyle, that you want to add to that.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I've created some slides for the visual learners. And so, yeah, that'd just be helpful, I think, for everyone to have a conversation around priorities and subcommittees and things like that, if that's okay.
Yeah, do you want to do that under new business?
No, we can do it here. If
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about, Vice Chair
I'm
Rico, is
fine.
doing everything here? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it all here.
Okay,
If that's
great.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I can give a quick update and then hand it off to Kyle. So I was not able to attend yesterday's meeting. I had to staff my commissioner at a meeting. But I did connect with Eli from DAS, who has been tasked by the governor to sort of start structuring a follow-up to the advisory committee or the advisory report that the Secretary of State released at our request, thankfully. So it was just a really validating conversation, I think, as practitioners, right? As a former prosecutor for domestic violence, it was just very validating to see the experience that I had and that other providers had, just, validated in the Secretary of State's report that there is no statewide strategy. And I think we're one of the only states that doesn't have that. And I know that we are losing lots of financial opportunities from the federal government to supplement the funding that we have at the state level because of that. So I was really excited to speak with them and very, very heartened to hear that even though there is no like obligation to the governor to follow up on this report, she believes in this work and she believes that this is a really important bipartisan issue that is going to be I'm hoping front and center at the next legislative session. So I also want to thank Representative Graber for also bringing forward some of those DV bills that are going to be super important. So I think we're just really excited to lend our, our lens as we are forming the joint subcommittee, which will include all of the commissions. So you get with that so many different perspectives and so much outreach that we can do on this side of things statewide. So I think I'm really heartened. I'm really excited. And I echo what Co-Chair Camille said about it's something that, most of us have a personal experience with. And I am super excited that our commission continues to lead. I know Kyle sent out an email about the legacy of work that this commission has done. And I think it's right on with what they have done in the past. And I know that our commission has always been sort of a champion for this cause, and I'm just happy to see that we're moving the post forward and we have an opportunity to be one of the leading states in the nation when it comes to thinking about domestic violence as a public health issue and removing it from that dichotomy that it's only in the criminal justice system, because it's not. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And any of those who are practitioners in public safety know that the bulk of the domestic violence that is currently happening is not seeing the law enforcement door. And I think, the work that we're going to go forward and do, I think is going to be really important. So with that, I'll hand it over to Kyle.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rico. I'm just popping in the chat the notes from the subcommittee meeting yesterday in case you want to check it out. I'll give a kind of high-level summary of it though, but it's a Google Doc, so you're welcome to just go and see it. We use it as a running agenda and notes for the DV work group. I'm going to share my screen so that I can just share some slides so things don't feel too word salady. I am going to share a policy and research update with you all on your commission activities that I am responsible for helping shepherd. So at your last meeting in May, you officially voted on a few commission priorities, one being domestic violence prevention and statewide coordination, a second being childcare affordability and accessibility, and third being around gender pay equity. So I'll share kind of the progress of what we've been able to accomplish since May there. And then just a couple bonus updates are talking about the biennial reports that the commission does, and then also just wanting to make sure you're all aware of Representative Reynolds' Momnibus bill and giving you some links and information on that. So first, starting on the domestic violence prevention and statewide coordination priority, just a little bit of a timeline because I think it's important to, watch this grow. The caveat, what Co-Chair Mercier had mentioned around truly domestic violence. This has been a priority and a topic that the commission has been working on since its inception, and it is reflected in the biennial reports from the 80s and 90s. And so want to say the caveat of how are we still talking about this? And wanting to really applaud you all for the elevation that you are giving this topic, because we're seeing more maybe statewide response to it now than we have in the past. So in 2022, really thanks to Vice Chair Rico kind of helping amplify the need for domestic violence to be treated as a public health crisis and not solely as a criminal justice issue, right? Those conversations really started happening within the commission, got the attention of Secretary of State, especially Deputy Secretary Cheryl Myers, who then really pushed for the audits division to do an advisory report on it, which was published in October of 2023. The joint, every single commission, a commission on Hispanic Affairs, Black Affairs, Asian Pacific Islander Affairs really wanted to do the work with OCFW. So this is one of the first official joint subcommittees working on an issue that we have had in the commissions in recent history. And as they were talking, we reached out to the audits division since the advisory report was published in October of 2023, we reached out to them a couple months ago saying, what have you heard? What are different agencies telling you? You know, they're responding, because typically with an audit, it kind of puts the onus onto the agency to take accountability for the issues and the recommendations, and then communicate how they're meeting those recommendations and making those changes. With an advisory report, there isn't a single agency owning the problem and the response. And so what we were realizing is things haven't really been moving since this advisory report was published. So I am now considering myself a professional squeaky wheel. We got this kind of elevated to the governor's office. The governor's office is responsible for monitoring all.
Kyle, I think we lost you, or maybe you guys lost me.
No,
I think it's Kyle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kyle's frozen.
Oh,
Gone. Hello, am I back?
Yes.
Am I
Yeah,
back?
you are.
Hello,
Yes.
hello. Okay, sorry.
Welcome back.
Sorry, dang it. Thank you. Just me and the Microsoft cyber stuff. It's fine. Okay. So where did I cut off? I think I was just going to the new slide around. So really exciting news. The governor's office and our chief operating officer for the state, Director Barry Leslie at the Department of Administrative Services, has tasked a person named Eli Ritchie, the chief audit executive and statewide response coordinator, with developing a response, a statewide, enterprise-wide response to this advisory report. And this is a huge, huge win. So I mean, I was honestly thinking we're going to pull this subcommittee together. I had no idea that this could, I thought we were going to get here in several months. So for this to happen so fast is really wonderful. And we had a subcommittee meeting yesterday with Eli and several members of the subcommittee, and there was also representation from several domestic violence service providers in the space yesterday, discussing the advisory report and discussing what they would want to see in some potential solutions. We will say, there was, discussions around long-term needs for, of course, a state philosophy and vision for an Oregon free of gender-based violence, but I want to talk more about, or give you the space more to talk about the immediate need that came up, in that the Victims of Crime Act funding is set to decrease over 40% this fall. So in the advisory report, it already talks about how underfunded and under-resourced domestic violence service provision is right now, and that when this federal funding decreases this fall, it could just have catastrophic, devastating effects to the providers and the survivors they serve. So this co-chair Ford, had really brought up this great idea of thinking about a convening of sorts, and I'll make sure that she, gets to talk about that, but just wanting to give the foundation of the conversation where we are with the subcommittee, that as far as the long-term vision goes, it does feel in the hands of Eli Ritchie and then the state, and they'll be figuring out where they go from there of, what that long-term response is going to look like. The short-term need that we've kind of been encouraged to not wait for an enterprise response on, that this would be an appropriate space for the commission and the subcommittee to lead out on, is really exploring what do we do right now, for the state to fill the funding gaps around VOCA. So I can pause here to be able to let you discuss that. We can wait, but I want to pause to see if this is something that you would like to start just discussing right now of what is the OCFW's role in Oregon's response to VOCA funding cuts and possible solutions. So I'm going to just stop sharing for a moment and open that up for you all to be able to talk about it.
I wonder if there is an opportunity to have a work session on this, like a joint work session, maybe from I don't know which committees it would be. Maybe it's the Joint Ways and Means Committee, but I do think that it's important to get the information out there, maybe in the September Ledge Days, to see if we can get that scheduled. And I also think it's important to start advocating with our federal counterparts and seeing where those federal kind of legislative pushes are as well, so that we can start sort of amplifying their efforts. So I just think it would be good to check in with our federal delegation and then also see if we can have a work session in the upcoming Ledge Days.
I just want to point out that this is not a 40% this year and it's done. This is a step process to get to 100%. So I just want to make sure that everyone's clear about that fact.
And Vice Chair Rico, so following up on the Ledge Day piece, that is something that we're actively going to be planning around of what that Ledge Day is going to look like in the fall for all commissions. So it is something that we are going to undertake, we are going to participate in, just don't know what it's going to look like at this moment in time. But I do think your recommendation to meet with legislators around the DV work is spot on.
And I would echo, if you're able to have a hearing, I serve on the Public Safety Ways and Means Subcommittee. And generally, we're only hearing, emergency funding asks, but that could be a really good spot. And that is co-chaired by Representative Evans and Senator Solman. So I would reach out to those two and see if there's a possibility of slotting that in, even just as an informational piece, because I think it's very relevant to some of what we've talked about in the past.
I can take on that. I can work with the OCFW leadership to reach out to the chairs of those committees to see what kind of space there is on their agendas for Ledge Days.
And feel free, Kyle, to CC me on that at the legislative address, and I can maybe help. I can help bolster that along, I think.
Okay, fantastic. I can get that done. Okay, is there anything else on this, or are you ready for me to, I can keep moving through this?
Yes, please.
And okay, great. So just a few upcoming things to share around the domestic violence work. There is a meeting next Friday for the Oregon Alliance to End Gender-Based Violence. They have administered a survey to survivors, advocates, allies around the most pressing DVSA policy and funding needs in Oregon. And so they're going to be talking through those results. I don't work on Fridays, and so it would be really helpful to me because I don't know if this is, I imagine this isn't going to be recorded. I don't know. It would be helpful if someone on the DV subcommittee might be interested in attending this 1-hour webinar. We can see, if we have the staff to be able to attend it too, and be able to take notes. So I just want to flag that. You don't have to say right now, but maybe if we could figure out if anybody's available to attend and take notes on this. I think this will be really important to hear from folks who are, in the grassroots, telling folks what they need. And then our next domestic violence subcommittee meeting is Thursday, August 15th from 11 to 12:30. If you don't have that meeting series on your calendar, but you want to attend, let me know and I can send that to you. And then also the Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence has an annual conference, and it is in Sun River in October 28th to the 30th. It's an in-person event. I do not believe they have plans for it to be hybrid. So I just want to flag this in case this is something that members of the commission may want to attend. I can, staff can attend on behalf, but it can be important. So just flagging this if you have time to be able to do this, right? The commission can help support with the registration fees and travel and accommodations and everything. But in case this is something that interests you, I want to make sure you have it on your calendar. Okay. Anything else on the domestic violence priority before I move into the child care priority?
I just want to ask a question if I could. On the agenda, it says Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Do we have any updates on that?
I don't.
No,
Vice
nothing
Chair Rico
yet.
or anyone? Okay.
No, we need to get on that, honestly. So if there's any ideas that you all might have, Domestic Violence Awareness Month is in October. And last year we did a little panel with then co-chair parents. I think it was Women Leadership Conference. So I don't know if we want to do a separate event this year. If so, maybe we can start brainstorming in the August DV meeting, and then just set that as a point in the agenda.
Sure. Yeah, and we could talk about this in the next subcommittee meeting as well in August too, and even just running through different ideas of it can be a media campaign. We could help schedule a press if you wanted to talk about VOCA and what you're, doing around that. Just there's a lot of different ways that the commission can kind of show up in the month. So whether it's a panel and more or press or whatever would yeah, we can explore that more. Let me know.
Can we
Okay.
add that to it as an agenda item
For
in
the
August?
subcommittee meeting in August?
Yeah.
Yeah, well the next, yes, absolutely. And the next OCFW meeting is going to be in September, but we can talk through that in August to come up with a plan for what yes, absolutely.
Great. Thanks,
Okay.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Well, I'll pay attention to the notes. Kyle, I will not be at the next subcommittee meeting. I'm on vacation that week. So
Okay.
whatever notes you guys have, I'll make sure I read through them.
Okay, great. Can someone from my team make sure that in the meeting minutes for this meeting that you could put an action item of putting the DV campaign? Thanks. Okay, for the childcare affordability and accessibility, these priorities are going to go. You're going to see that the progress gets a little bit smaller as I go because you'll see. Right. So the childcare affordability and accessibility, I met with the policy director at the Department of Early Learning and Care, David Mandel, last week, who really, helped share about the primary issues that we're seeing on the state level is first and foremost around accessibility and just lack of supply of childcare. Second is cost. Infant care is more expensive than public university. Third is that childcare businesses are mostly kind of independently run, kind of mom and pop shops, mostly mom, and are running at margins of profitability. And the fourth is that most childcare staff are women and women of color who are paid low wages. And so this kind of the crux of the problem is that parents cannot afford childcare and the people doing the work aren't compensated fairly. So there really has to be some state level investments. So the question that he kind of posed to OCFW is, what's the investment that the state wants to make in childcare long term? And there's, several studies that he mentioned that state investments, for every percent you are investing in childcare systems, it increases women's workforce participation and earning potential. That state investments, when they increase teacher pay, it of course increases tax revenue. And then high quality systems are just more than paying for themselves in the long run. So there's just a huge return on investment. I believe we're at a point where OCFW could need a childcare subcommittee. Like we're moving on for this to really progress efficiently in between meetings. It would be great to have maybe 2 commissioners who would want to work with me on doing these kinds of things, of meeting with folks, figuring out what's going on, and being able to come to these regular commission meetings with updates and progress. So just mentioning that, I have another update here on the childcare front. There is a work group, the childcare work group, that specifically works around zoning and permitting barriers. So it's kind of a partnership between the Department of Early Learning and Care, but it's mostly at the Division of Land Use and Department of Land Conservation and Development. I misspoke. So you can see the partners who are in this work group. It's people at DELC, it's people in the Building Codes Division, it's the Oregon State Fire Marshal. Their next meeting is also next Friday, and it is held through YouTube. It's a work group, so we wouldn't be able to give any public comment, but we do have emails for being able to send comments before or after. So again, if there's anybody who is available to attend that between 9 and 11, great. But it is going to be available to watch after. So no worries if someone isn't available to go on Friday, I can watch it next week. But wanting to flag that there's this work group, and so this is a space where OCFW can be helping shape the way the state is responding to childcare accessibility. I think yeah. So on this, it would be great if there's anyone who is feeling like they have the capacity to work with me in like a subcommittee, maybe just a couple hours a week or an hour a week, maybe a few hours a month would just be really helpful to kind of help guide me in where you want this to go in between meetings. And sorry, I can't see the chat or if any hands are raised right now.
Oh, so I'm putting in the chat. I'm willing to help with the subcommittee. I'm doing some work with Family Forward that is related to the stuff you're talking about that can kind of move us along fairly quickly. They've already dug their heels in us pretty deep, and also the Children's Institute. So you can add me.
Okay, that's great. And even if you know of things that you want me to be helping show up, as a space to be able to get the information and share to the commission, happy to do that. So thanks. Thank you. I'll reach out to you, Co-Chair Ford. Thank you. Okay, and then lastly, on the third priority of closing the gender wage gap, I haven't done a lot with this, but part of it is because the advisory report of the Secretary of State's office, found that gender pay gaps, especially for women of color, continue to persist in state government, even when bills are passed to try to create new formulas of calculating pay equity. There's several recommendations in it. I haven't really moved too much on it yet, because a new pay equity tool was just implemented in the last month at the state, and I was waiting for that to be completed. So I do think that we're at a space where we could start to invite this DAS-CHRO, means Department of Administrative Services Chief Human Resources Office. So we could kind of start exploring there. Similarly, I do believe that we'll go farther, faster if I have maybe 2 commissioners who want to meet with me on a monthly basis to kind of guide me in where you want me to go with this work. I think I saw Terrence's hand raised.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think talking through this recommendation or priority area is going to be crucial. So I would just recommend that it's not only looking at the state service level for pay equity barriers or just gaps, that it's spread across the board. I just don't know how much OCFW would be able to influence like state internal system stuff versus like looking at the entire landscape for pay equity. So just want to be very clear in that. And as we refine this priority area, it would be good just to keep that in the back of our minds when we're fleshing it out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Terrence. Yeah, this priority still feels very nebulous, right? And what is this going to look like? But one of the things that had come up, yeah, was around this, yeah, for state government, but of course, looking at things across the state. And I think actually looking through, I'm excited to read through the biennial reports because I would like to see more of what OCFW has done in the past, and maybe even being able to see what bills they have championed in the past, truly decades ago, and follow up on those kinds of things or things that might be in state statute. So that's a
I can
very
also,
yeah.
Kyle, I don't know the protocol for this, but on our policy committee, and Saba's been there a couple times, we have an individual, Joe, who does some research around this specifically, and we have presented a couple potential like bill ideas to some lawyers, and it's been kind of back and forth and kind of challenging because you get into this unconstitutional kind of language around pay equity, but I don't know what the structure is, but I think if we could, there's so few of us that are actually showing up and able and willing to work, which is part of the challenge in having, three needed priorities, but we need people to do the work, right? And so if we can designate someone, because like Joe, this is her life, right? Like she's not a commissioner, but if she could show up on behalf of me, right? And because I work with her all the time, that would be great because she's the person that does this work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. And I think one of the things that we could even be doing is because you have these priorities, having them as standing agenda items and inviting the experts, who are already doing this full time, that if they can be coming to give a report to you and they're sharing with you the brush that they might need cleared on a state level, right? Then that's where I can help, where the subcommittee can help, things like that. So I would love that. Would you like to set up a just little introduction, Co-Chair Ford,
Yeah, I can
between
do
me
that.
and Joe, and I can kind of see what her capacity is for
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also set up the same thing with Candace from Family Forward because they just passed a bill around the structure for the financial structure for childcare.
Perfect.
So I think so I'll connect you with those two people.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, hopefully, we can kind of find a synergy where we're a little bit of an information sharing hub and making sure that the things that are happening in the community are being heard in a lot of these state work groups and things. Yes, Vice Chair Rico.
So part of our portfolio was the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability and the Development Bureau that handles the permitting. They're dealing with Portland's own zoning code for preschool and also figuring out how to support existing businesses. If you all are interested in some subject matter experts here in the city of Portland that are currently working on those issues as well, let me know and I can put you in contact with our policy advisor.
Okay, great. This is really helpful also in these conversations of just helping shape what you want your upcoming meeting agendas to look like, right? So we'll be pulling out like these things so that we are bringing the right speakers to the space to give you the right updates to really keep the momentum going. So we have all these notes taken of these folks, so that's really helpful. Okay, I'm looking, I don't see any more hands. So just in my last couple policy and research updates, I sent an email to you all. It felt I was just really inspired by reading through the past commission reports. Pretty incredible work that has been done. And because we have the biennial report that's going to be due next June. So every, odd year in the biennium, each of the commissions needs to report to the governor and the legislative assembly, describing your concerns and the issues confronting women in Oregon and then providing recommendations for the governor, the legislative assembly, and state agencies to address those needs, and also specifying the programs, projects, and activities that the commission has supported or will support. So that next report's due June 2025. We're kind of I'm just going to be starting to build the scaffolding for it, right? That we'll be able to plug in everything that you're doing. So I'm going to be reaching out to OCFW leadership soon to right, the sooner the better. So I'm going to start sending that out to you all. I just wanted to let you know that that's happening. And that's why I sent you, it's in a Google folder, so you should be able to just access it all. But these past reports, to be able to kind of see the format of what do you like about past reports, what do you not like, so that we can kind of figure out a format going forward of what you want next year's report to look like. And I just really think you'll find a lot of gems of inspiration in there. This is just, I'm not going to read all of this thing, but just this is what I shared in the email to you all a few days ago. OCFW had a newsletter, a quarterly newsletter called Viewpoint, and they were tasked with developing the Children's Bill of Rights. And they were really instrumental in passing parental leave and welfare reform bills. In their 1989 and 1991 biennium, they did active listening sessions with women all across the state. And I just think that to be able to really hear from folks of what community across the state wanted them to focus on. And then they were very instrumental in helping pass the Family Medical Leave Act in that biennium. And then some other things, this just really felt great to see, how full circle with Libra being on the commission, because in the biennium, the 2015 to 2017 biennium, OCFW worked with the Women's Foundation of Oregon on an equity toolkit and playbook, and the Count Her In report, which was really instrumental in passing some great legislation. So, and they did a study on incarcerated parents in Oregon. So it's a good little dive if you want to go do that. And then my last thing is I attended the Momnibus Roundtable. So Representative Lisa Reynolds is kind of putting together a big package called Momnibus for the 2025 legislative session. She has 4 proposed main areas to focus on, which is safe, stable housing during pregnancy and in the first year postpartum, providing basic income for eligible pregnant and postpartum people, ensuring access to adequate care to improve maternal mental health outcomes and substance use disorders, and expanding and diversifying the perinatal workforce, especially community health workers and doulas. I just wanted to make sure you're all aware of this. And if there's another roundtable, I will make sure to pass that on to you. You could watch the meeting. There's the link here in the passcode. But just wanting to make sure you all know that this is happening, because it could be a place you will want to testify on behalf of in the upcoming session. So just lastly, I hope you all have my number. I know I've texted you all. I would love nothing more than to come take you out for a coffee, go on a walk, have a Zoom chat, whatever feels good to you, and just talk about, all of this different policy and research things, and how I can best support you with your capacity and your interests in being involved and just, really helping you do your best work as a commissioner. So please text me, call me, and let's schedule something. Okay, that is it from me.
Fantastic. Good job, Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kyle, thanks for uplifting Rep. Reynolds' Momnibus bill. She's been kind of working on putting this together for years, and it's coming to fruition, and a lot of folks are real excited about it. So thank you for doing that.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments for Kyle?
Kyle, can you send me the tool, the pay equity tool? I was trying to find it. I was unaware of it. I would love to take a look at it.
I'm going to try and find it. This all like the synapses that fired when I read the 2015 to 2017 report around, because on the front of it, it's all these Count Her In, images and things. So I'm going to try to find it, what
Thanks.
this tool is. I'm still looking for it, but absolutely, if I find it, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else from anybody for Kyle?
I'm sorry, one other thing I wrote down as a note. So the annual conference for the DV thing, I think I made myself a note, but they ask for presenters every year, and because of this being a priority for us, I think it may be good wise next we're late for this year, but next year to maybe present in terms of how we're supporting and want to show up so that they can be connected to us. So I made a note, and I'll make sure to try to bring it up again because it's due like February, so it's around the corner.
Great. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Old business. Terrence, do you want to take us through the bylaws vote? Or we can't vote on this right now, can we? We still don't have quorum.
Actually, you do have quorum.
We do?
So I would recommend actually going back to the meeting minutes and getting a vote on that first, and then we can go jump into the bylaw updates.
Great.
But as of right now, we do have 6 folks on the call.
Okay, fantastic. Has everybody had a chance to look at the May meeting minutes? Are there any changes, amendments, updates?
I just have one question, and I don't know if Commissioner Natasha is here, but actually not Natasha, Ashley. There's mention of her having medical concerns. I'm not comfortable with having that in the minutes as a public document, and I just want to make sure if she's aware that it's in the minutes before we vote them in. Everything else I'm fine with.
Vice Chair Ford, it's Commissioner Hansberger. Sorry, I'm on the phone driving. I can guarantee that Ashley would not be comfortable with that because she is keeping this privately.
So I would like to vote that, or I would like to place a motion that we approve the minutes with removing that from the minutes before they become public.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and passed. Everybody in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposing? Any abstentions? Okay, meeting minutes are passed with that admission suggested by Co-Chair Ford. Okay, why don't we go ahead and do roll call while we're at it here. Co-Chair Ford,
Here.
Vice Chair Rico,
Here.
Commissioner Hansberger,
Here.
Commissioner Chapman,
Here.
Commissioner Sancho. I believe she's gone, right?
That's correct.
Okay, Commissioner Lancaster, no, that she's gone as well. Commissioner Parent is gone. Commissioner Coniff? Has she joined us?
Not present.
No,
Nope.
okay, not present. Representative Graper
Here.
and Senator Patterson is not attending, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, moving on to old business. Terrence, do you want to take over the bylaws vote?
Absolutely. So in May 17th of this year, OCFW voted on the bylaws to be changed. I did send it over to DOJ and received feedback. So I did send an email out to the entire commission with some of those language changes. I'll go over them at a very high level for this meeting, but hope you all have seen that email. So there was a language suggestion to be changed as it relates to the gubernatorial appointees from 3 years to 4, and that's just consistency with all of the other commissions. So that is on page 4 of the actual bylaws document that I attached to the email that was sent earlier this week. Also corrected a citation under Article 6, Section 4 to appropriate statute. So it was just literally changing the statute reference that it was previously referencing, which was an outdated statute. And then the third item is the bigger portion of replacing new wording in Article 8 or Article 7, excuse me. So Section 1B is to recommended to remove language around officer duties as it's duplicative in section 5, 6, and 7. And I did send an email out again with those sections with appropriate language. So I would love an up. Well, first, how do folks feel about the changes in the bylaws? Do folks know what I'm talking about? Maybe let's start there.
I know I briefly went through them, not in depth, but I was fine with it. I don't know what the thoughts are from everybody else. Anybody else have any thoughts, concerns?
No, I went through it. Terrence, it looks really good. Thank you for keeping up and keeping us aligned with the changes that are happening around us. And I also think that we should probably just have this on our agenda annually, even if there aren't changes, just so we're not missing things. But really appreciate the thoroughness you brought with this. Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem. So the big reason for the bylaw change, just want to recap that in the May 17th meeting, was making sure that there's language around co-chairs in the bylaws. So they were never voted on in 2021 or 2022 when they were last discussed in a meeting, but never formally voted on to be adopted as changes. So that's kind of the purpose for the whole bylaw revision this round, if folks were not able to attend that previous meeting. Vice Chair Rico, I did see your hand go up. Feel free to
No,
jump in.
that was my question. If this is going to
Perfect.
be now in process for what we thought we did back in 2022, but didn't get done. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. So I did submit those changes, and then there was just other recommendations for language changes. It's a little difficult to talk through unless you've actually like opened up the bylaws document. That's why I'm kind of just hoping folks actually read that doc. Language changes overall are pretty minor, and I do think taking a formal vote in this meeting would be instrumental to make sure that the co-chairs are established formally and all of the other reference changes around statutes.
So Terrence, do we need a motion to vote on those changes and approve as submitted?
Yes.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Vice Chair Rico moved. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. That was Representative Graper. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm operating from my phone and I can't quite see who has hands up and all of that. Okay, everybody who would like to approve this, vote. What am I saying? Voting to approve. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstentions or opposition? Hearing none, that has been approved. And Terrence, what's the next step for after this?
So I will go ahead and accept the changes in the document. I will also resend to DOJ just saying that it's confirmed so they have an updated copy on their end. And we will repost on our agency website so it is reflective of the current bylaws that are formally adopted.
Great. Thank you so much, Terrence, for just taking this and moving it forward. I think we all thought that it had been moved forward, not recognizing that it hadn't. So thank you.
No
Anything
problem.
else? Any questions for Terrence or comments? Okay, moving on. Health Equity Team update. Kai and Grace.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to take this one this time around. As Grace mentioned, we are really excited to have narrowed into our kind of priority short list of just over 20 recommendations. And the one I wanted to highlight for y'all is we have a recommendation to decrease high Black maternal mortality rates in Oregon. There's a link in the agenda, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. it overlaps, I think, with some of the Momnibus work that Kyle was highlighting as well. But just wanted to highlight it for you as one of the things that the health equity team is working on that may overlap with some areas that you're also working in. We've had a few meetings with different folks who are doing work around this issue, and really excited to be moving it forward. I will also drop the recommendations tracker. Many of you have likely seen it in a variety of iterations, but just, oh, Grace beat me to it. Just so that if you're curious, you can kind of see where we have narrowed things down to be channeling our most focused energy. That doesn't mean that the other recommendations are being set up to the wayside, just that we got to start somewhere. So just wanted to give you all an update a little bit about that work. And of course, Kyle and our team will keep working together to bring you any highlights of work that might touch on some of your priorities.
Did Grace have anything to add? No.
No, that was all of our updates. All right.
Okay, any questions or comments for Kai or Grace?
Question. So on this list, I see you guys are listing commission priorities, and I know that we have these 3: DV prevention, childcare, and gender pay equity, but there are some in here that I feel overlap with our priorities. So how do we get that to you? Because I don't see us listed.
You can get it to us right now while we're talking or over email, but we also have discussions with Kyle, so Kyle could be a good connecting point about our overlap of priorities. We had a meeting, actually like 2 meetings about 2 weeks ago discussing this, but we're very happy to hear any overlaps that you see in the work.
I'd like to take a moment outside of this to do that so I can send you guys details, but the one that's just blaring in my face is violence prevention and community restoration. I think that we should be following that one, but I will take the time to go through them and then I will send you guys an email.
Great.
Perfect. And I'll go ahead and drop our emails in the chat.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about the for the health equity team?
Kyle, do you want to jump in first?
I was just going to share just some clarification of like the staff leading out on helping support on commission. So just so you know that if you don't see one of your commission priorities in that recommendation tracker, it is because I'm taking the lead on kind of helping. Look, we have it in a different place. But then if you do see things on the recommendation tracker that you're like personally interested in, or you want, the commission to be thinking about, it's just that the health equity team is leading out on the work. So just wanting to make that clarification that just because you might not see something in the tracker, it doesn't mean that we aren't working on it. It just means that I'm the one leading on it.
Great.
Yeah, and just
clarification.
And just building on what Kyle mentioned as well, so just mentioning that House Bill 4052, so it declares racism as a public health crisis. So all of the recommendations are focused on that racism component of it. For OCFW's priorities don't necessarily touch explicitly on racism, so that's why it may not appear on that. And again, Kyle so appropriately mentioned that she may be taking the lead on OCFW's priorities.
And I'll flag that everything that we're doing with OCFW, we are centering racism with, but it's just just kind of our internal workings of it, that there are certain things that like the Oregon Commission on Black Affairs is doing where it's like we need to explicitly eliminate housing discrimination that Black and African American Oregonians are experiencing. The health equity team is leading out on that. Something that's like childcare issues, which of course have, some disparate outcomes and impacts on people of color, but is like a maybe bigger generalizable topical area. I'm taking on that. It's just really like, I hope that that's helpful. Like, I don't want you to think that like we are definitely talking about race across every single one of these priorities, but yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to say, definitely understand that in terms of like prioritizing and putting work in categories. But our childcare specifically mentions race in the priority, and so I just feel like I know that it's easier to do the work in that way, but it is absolutely harmful for us not to acknowledge the fact that all of these things impact women. And so I get it, but from an overview standpoint, it's really hard to explain that to people who are like, what are you guys looking at? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not sitting in this meeting. They don't hear that. They don't even understand maybe systems and what needs to happen. And so I just think we need to call out when we're connected to it. We need to call it out, right? Like, I don't want people to think that we're not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well said, and that's definitely not the case here. We're always considering intersectionality, so I just want to be clear in that, and definitely welcome any email or conversation that happens offline around how we can integrate some more of the OCFW priorities in the work streams for House Bill 4052 and the health equity team.
Great. Anything else on health equity? Okay. Co-Chair Ford, do you want to talk about our our OCFW priorities?
Yeah, I was talking to parents about ways that we can actualize our priorities that is also sustainable beyond our existence. And so one of the things that I have talked to many people about for many years, when you look at a bill, there's always a fiscal impact line and there's analysis around the fiscal impact line. And obviously it's easy to manage because Ways and Means is involved, is a process forward. But I've always felt that there is a deep need for us to acknowledge on our bills where there's impact on, in particular, women or people of color in terms of how this impacts their life and having a way of measuring that over time. And so it's a lofty idea, right? But I feel as a commission, one of the things that I will be really frank with you guys on is I feel like we need something that is more sustainable across beyond us. Because I find that priorities often lean on people, personal's agenda, personal experiences. And so I would like for us to try to approach this from a standpoint, how do we create something that can live on and also be really helpful for the state? And so in talking to Terrence and then also having a chance to talk to, what was the gentleman's name from DAS? DAS? What's the name?
Director Bueller, he's actually with the governor's
No, I think
office.
is it
Governor's
Eli?
office.
Oh, okay. Not Eli.
Yeah. So in speaking to the two of them, we talked through some of this idea. And one of the ways that we can be more intentional over this year is to really dig into how we're following bills and how we're testifying, measuring those things, measuring how our testifying and how our following of that actually impacts the bill being passed or not, and then reporting on that in our biennial report. And this becomes kind of a operationalization of what priorities are instead of us just having priorities every year that change or every whatever turnover of people, but having a way of measuring that, and then that becomes historical data. So I'd like for us to consider that, and I don't know if this is the right place to do that now or how we do that. But I would like for us to consider that in terms of the longevity of this commission and to really kind of put a stake in the ground of why we're here and what we can do and how we make change. So that's all I have. I really don't need 15 minutes unless people just want to chat about it. And I don't know, did I leave something out, Terrence? Because I know we talked a lot.
No, I didn't. I don't think you leaved anything out. I think it would be good to kind of summarize what the priority area would be, in your words, and then to take a formal vote if that should be adopted as one of the new OCFW priorities. I can tell, just giving a little bit more background, that in the 2023 legislative session, all of the commissions provided countless amounts of testimony, so there is a way to track that past legislative session. I've actually seen some of the older reports, just very brief, and they were actually doing the same exact thing that you're talking about. It was tracking like the effectiveness of providing testimony during session for each commission. So I feel like that's a very easy ask, especially to get that data for like the last couple of bienniums if we're able to. And then on a go forward basis, like how do we advance that? So I personally would love this priority. I know I'm not a non-voting member, but I do think there's a way for the legislature to be receptive to having an equity statement or an equity line for each bill. And Kyle, I see your hand up as well, so you may want to jump in.
Sure. So I can speak to a couple of things. I think it was 2022, the 2022 session, there was some talk around there wanting to be the need for some body to do an equity analysis on every single bill that was coming through. And people were looking to the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office and were like, I'm sorry, in a long session, there can be 5,000 bills. Our staff of 4 are not going to be able to do that. So I think it was like, we get the idea, there was the idea for it, but I think they were trying to look at what exists in the state enterprise already, and they can just like have this extra job. And then I think as soon as they started realizing, no, this would require some serious staffing, some serious funds, some serious structure. It kind of went away. But that was happening in the 2022 session, and they were looking at the Oregon Advocate, but we just did not have the capacity to be able to do something like that. So just flagging that. But there could be things that OCFW and any commission absolutely can look at different bills and do your own equity analysis on things. Like we can do that. I just wanted to share really quick something that you'll see in the biennium reports that might be touching on this, that I'm thinking through of what this could look like. I'm just going to share really quickly. So this is it might take a second for it to be able to see it, but you are looking at the 2015-2017 OCFW biennial report. So the same thing that we're going to be responsible for submitting next June. This was theirs. So I'm hoping you can see this okay. So what had happened is in the 2015-2016 session, they reported the type of testimony by strategic area that they submitted. So they did 7% around environmental justice, right? 24% of their testimony was in jobs in the economy. And so it looks like they supported 21 bills with testimony, and they testified on 28 bills affecting women and girls in those strategic areas. And then they marked what they were. And so what we can do, we could go through, these are the ones that passed, testing of sexual assault evidence kits. If we wanted to go and look around things, there was the refunding for the Project for Incarcerated Mothers. I have no idea where these things are as far as where these pilot programs is. There still funding there? Did these sunset? Are they super successful programs that are housed at other agencies that we could invite a spokesperson to come and talk to you about it, right? These are things that 10 years ago, OCFW was instrumental in passing. It does make sense for us to try to find out how are they doing, how's this going? And then you can see in this that they tracked. I do not know. When I stop sharing, I'll test if these testimonies work, but it would have probably just been linking to the website of the Oregon Legislative, of here's the testimony that we supported because it's public record. So we would be able to even go and see what the testimony was. It looks like there was invited testimony from all of the joint commissions on the Oregon Education Investment Board. So these biennial reports, I have just found these. I got these from the library last week. They've been sending these digital reports. So I'm in the early phase of looking through these, but I think that they could be a good model for helping us understand what do you like about this and what do you not, right? I have no idea if OCFW was writing specific equity analyses, and sharing that with the legislators who would be thinking about this. But just wanted to share that this has been happening, and we can absolutely figure out the model of how you want to be presenting it and tracking it in the future and coming up with a kind of a systemic way of doing it so that this process continues as a legacy beyond every single commissioner who's currently on the commission.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's really a good kind of start in how a model could be worked out. And I also want to be really clear. To me, this is more of the work of the commissioner. Like in my mind, it's also a way to like give a responsibility to the commissioner because one, and I'm being very transparent with you guys, I'm a little pissed off. Like I feel like people don't show up. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to activate people and also give them a way to understand that if you're asking to be a commissioner, this is what you are responsible to do. These are the actions that you must do. And here's, the result can be the model that we come up with and how we, analyze it. But we need more commissioners to understand that this is really important and you have not only a responsibility, but it's almost criminal not to show up and try to have some impact on bills that are about our future. And so just trying to think through how to activate commissioners. In no way do I want you guys to do more work. I want commissioners to do more work. That is the whole point of this.
Kyle, was it you and I that were talking about perhaps having a retreat for the commission and talking about what are those priority areas, or I'm sorry, how do each of us individually as commissioners contribute to our priority areas? So maybe this is something we can grow more legs around, Libra, and I'm sorry, Commissioner Ford, and you can help us formulate that just a little bit more. And I know, at least for me, when I interviewed for the commission, it was really clear what our roles were going to be, and it centered around these bills and the priority areas for the commission. However, then it appeared that we were notified that as a commission, we weren't allowed to be giving testimony for bills. And I think, at least in hindsight for me, in looking back, it felt like that kind of fragmented of like, well, what's our purpose then? What do we do? Or how do we move? And so I feel like we're kind of rebuilding in a sense. And to your point, I think you're spot on that we should be engaging in these important areas. I think the question is, how do we do it and do it within our roles so that we're not doing something we're not supposed to be doing, but also being effective in what we want to push forward for our priority areas.
And just for clarity, I mean, testifying in my understanding is something that we can do, and we have done that. And so when I was saying to start, we're already doing that, right? But let's be more intentional about measuring it. Let's be more intentional about where we show up, how many times we show up, and start to measure that to really see our impact. And then we can move towards some of these more lofty ideas that I'm talking about. But just initially, what are we already doing? How do we do that better and measure that?
Yeah, and put some structure around it, because
Yeah.
what it might look like to me may not be the same as some of the other commissioners. So I think some good dialogue and a framework would be helpful for all of us.
I agree.
Do you want to move this to as a follow-up topic for our September meeting, or really concentrate on it as for a retreat? Kyle, remind me, were we talking about the retreat for October, November?
We can do it for whenever you all want to do it. And we had just talked about, co-chair Mercier and I had talked about just a need for some potential connection with just some relationship building, and for you all to just get to know each other and what kind of are your interests. And so that was kind of what we had been exploring, of if that is something that you all feel could be helpful, right? Is getting the 11 of you together to kind of think through this, not in a public meeting. In 1989, OCFW did a 2-day retreat in Beaverton. So I don't know what you want to do, but just that they obviously care deeply about like relationship building and making sure they knew each other as people and moving forward. So just, we can absolutely explore that. I can support you in that.
Okay, let's
So
go ahead, Terrence.
yeah, I just want to jump in. So I think that's more of a sub duty. Just going to mention that around the planning for an event for OCFW. I also want to say that, and we'll talk about it later in the ED report, that OCFW has about $4,500 that can potentially be used for an event like this, for an in-person event, and about $4,200 or almost $4,300 in other funds that can definitely be contributed to some type of work retreat or commissioner retreat. So just want to flag that is absolutely within the scope, and do have the ability to do that. And Commissioner Hansberger, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I was hoping I clicked on raise hand because I'm driving and I have no idea what emoji I pressed on. But to echo what our chairs are stating, I would love to have a retreat or even a partial day with our commission to just reinforce the human connection outside of Zoom, and to maybe have those, as Vice Chair Ford mentioned, like honest discussion about capacity and commitment, so that those who are unable to fully commit or raise to our collective understanding of commitment can gracefully, exit or reconsider their membership here. And I believe between now and I would have to say end of October would be most ideal, simply because I think for me it might be very challenging post elections in November to, we are anticipating some degree of unrest one way or another. So November might be really hard, Chair Mercier, to host or firmly plan such a retreat. But I would be more than willing to adjust my work and life schedule, even for half a day retreat, because honestly, 2-day retreat would be really difficult for me to commit to. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on a retreat day or topics for it? And I can't see if anybody has hands up or anything, so somebody can cue me.
So this is Terrence. I have my hand up for something that's related to the previous conversation. So I'm going to wait to see if there's anything else in regards to the retreat, and then I'll jump back in.
Okay, how about this? How about between Saba, Co-Chair Ford, and Kyle and I, that we kind of throw some ideas around via email, and including dates, and then circle back to this topic in September? Is that good? Okay.
Sounds
Okay,
great.
Great. Go ahead, Terrence.
Yes, just wanting to mention, so Co-Chair Ford's idea for the priority area. Just want to clarify a couple of things. So yes, commissioners can provide testimony once it's empowered by the commission. So just want to clarify that. It does need to have a formal vote, whether that's a unanimous email vote or a quorum during a public meeting. Short session is extremely difficult to manage those 35 days, but in a long session, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for that. And I also just want to commit to something, which is looking at our at least 23 legislative session. Since we do have all of the records of testimony in our files internally, as well as on our internet website, that we will be able to provide metrics as it relates to the 23 legislative session. And I can do a deeper dive and see if there's any other bienniums that we have all of our testimony in one place to start producing that metric. And I know it's not formally adopted as a priority, but I also see this as something that can go into all of the commission's biennial reports. So to me, it's interrelated.
I'm just going to echo exactly what you're saying. I think it's so important, but it also feels much more organized than it has been in the past, or in the recent past. So thank you for your work on that, Terrence.
No problem.
This is Angela. So quick question. Can you reiterate that? So if I testified a number of times during the last few legislative sessions. I am wondering, so are we supposed to, like, I of course write out my testimony and then I provide written and then oral testimony at the legislature. Are we supposed to send that over to the commission, the entire commission for approval prior to the testimony? Okay.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yes, absolutely. So this past session, towards like the middle to end, we sent out an FAQ document in collaboration with the governor's office. So we will resend that document out as we get closer to the 25 legislative session, and we'll review it as well in our joint commission meeting. I know there's been a lot of communication back and forth, whether it was good or bad. I'm not going to make that determination. But just to bring clarity for all commissioners, I think it is a good use of time to kind of dust that FAQ document off, talk about the process to impact the legislative session. Also, one other thing to mention is that a commissioner themselves can provide testimony, but they can't do it on behalf of their like commission role, unless it's empowered by the commission. So you may have been doing things correct. We'll talk about it a little bit further offline and just, make sure we're all on the same page.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding that? Are we ready to move on to new business? Okay, we have official duty. Terrence, are you taking this on?
Yes, I can take along the official duties policy. Just wanting to mention, we also do not have quorum for the moment. So there won't be an actual vote that could take place. We did have Commissioner Chapman drop off the call.
I thought once a quorum, always a quorum. Is that not true? Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
I wish it would make business so much easier. But I will give an overview of the policy. So it is something that I'm recommending for each commission to adopt as a policy. Hopefully folks have had a chance to review it. Just the purpose of the official duties policy outlines duties that are official for a commissioner. So there's a number of them. I'm not necessarily going to go through each and every one, but it also outlines a policy for compensation per House Bill 2992, which passed in the 2021 legislative session. That's ORS 292 or 295495. Hopefully I'm getting that right off the top of my head. Essentially, that statute talks about compensation for council members, commissioners, board members, so on and so forth. Just to reiterate, because this is also going to tie into another update in regards to the attestation form, is that all commissioners, regardless of their income, need to complete the form every year, and that's to be compensated. So for folks that are under $50,000 of adjusted gross income, you would be eligible to receive compensation of $166 per day. And for folks that are filing jointly, it would be $100,000. Even if you make over that amount, we still need to have it on file to essentially confirm that you will not be eligible for that stipend. Hopefully that provides a very broad overview of the policy. Just as a reminder, in regards to reimbursements, folks are eligible for reimbursement regardless of their income. And that's around mileage, any hotels for official duties. As a commissioner, for example, attending legislative days in Salem on May 30th would have been one of those opportunities to, book a hotel and come out of commission funds where it doesn't impact you as an individual to participate. Any questions in that regard? folks know what I'm talking about in regards to the official duties policy. It's been sent out a couple of times.
Are we up to date on all the commissioners having their forms in, or are we not?
So Ava, you may want to come off mute and provide an update as you're the main person tracking him.
Yeah, of the 38 commissioners, 37 commissioners across all 4 commissions, I have 10. And I'm resending the email out again today to those people that I have not heard from. I do need to have them, whether you qualify or not, as Terrence said earlier. Also, if you are choosing to decline compensation, if you are qualified, but you choose to decline compensation, I still need to have that form back. So if you haven't submitted your form, please look for an email coming today, this afternoon. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me or Terrence. Thank you.
So thank you for that update and additional clarification. So without being able to take a vote, I would like this to be an agenda item during the next meeting, if there's quorum.
Great. Ava, do you carry that forward for the agenda?
Yes, I'll take care of it right now.
Okay, great, thank you. Terrence, do you have the next topic as well? No.
That would
What
be
am I
me.
doing? Okay.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Coach Mercier. Thank you. I am super excited. So, as some of you might have heard at the last Women of Achievement Awards, this next year is going to be the 40th Women of Achievement Awards since it started. It would have been the 41st, but unfortunately, 2020 there was, some stuff happening. I don't know what it was, but so we're super excited for that. And last year's committee has discussed redoing the nomination process as well as a number of other things. So I'd love to get a couple of volunteers who would like to be a part of the planning committee, just like we did last year. I'll say having Co-Chair Ford, Mercier, and a parent on that committee was incredibly helpful just for accountability. We had ample planning time to be able to set a date, find location, a number of other things. And we're hoping to make this one a really good one. So if you have the capacity, maybe 30 minutes once a week, or maybe once every other week to start out, I would love a couple of commissioners who want to be a part of that planning process.
I'll help, Saba.
Thank you.
Yeah, count us. Well, when I say us, we'll be in because we'll also, support in other ways.
Excellent. And I know there are quite a few people who are not here today, so I'm also happy to put out a call via email and then just circulate a doodle poll to find a regular time for all of us to meet. Full disclosure, with a couple of things going on within the office, a big event for the Commission on Hispanic Affairs or joint meeting and whatnot. This may not happen until about mid to late August, but I want to make sure that we get this moving forward. Thank you both. That is all I have. And if anyone has any ideas that they want to contribute but aren't able to participate in the regular planning meetings, please do always reach out to me. More than happy to do that. You're also welcome to reach out to your co-chairs.
Super. Thank you, Saba. I appreciate that. And then Kyle, we had your updates already, right? So are we at Food for All Oregonians with Kai and Grace?
We had updated Ava earlier that Micah checked in with Food for All updates, and they said currently right now there is no movement. So we voted to take it out of the agenda for right now, but we'll be sure to follow up with any updates next meeting.
Sorry, I must not have saw that it was removed. Okay, Terrence, you're up for director's report.
Absolutely. So I'll jump in a second. Just want to clarify, we did not vote on anything. So Grace, that was the update. So just want to
Oh,
mention that.
sorry, not vote. I mean, just as a team, personally. Sorry, not for the OCFW. Thank you, Terrence.
No worries, but that serves as the update for this meeting. So for the executive director's report, so I did submit that in writing. I'll just read through it as well. So each executive director's report or interim executive director's report, I will be providing an update. OCFW currently has $4,490.76 left in general funds, and that could be used for reimbursements, compensation, travel, so on and so forth. And that's money that's appropriated from the agency to the commission, which needs to be spent by June 30th, 2025. So when we talk about the retreat for commissioners, I would highly recommend hitting that general fund budget. As of right now, there is nobody on OCFW that is requesting compensation, and that's why that amount is still pretty high. Also currently there is $4,279 left in OCFW's other funds account, and those are monies that can be used past this current biennium. So I would not recommend touching that for the retreat unless there's an absolute need to do that. So if there's any reimbursement requests, compensation requests, please send those to Ava and myself, and we will approve those. One of the other items to mention in the official duties policy is that I'm also requesting that there's chair approval prior to any of those requests for reimbursements and compensation, just to ensure that the chair is also aware of the financial outlook for the commission. Commissioner recruitment. Co-chair Mercier, did you want to jump in?
No, I just said that was great. Sorry, talking to myself.
Okay. No worries, no worries. Your phone has very good sensitivity, I will say that. So commission reimbursement or commissioner reimbursement, it's always recommended to continue to recruit for new commissioners in case if there's vacancies on the commission. We've also created an onboarding checklist. I feel like something's missing on my end from my ED report, but neither here or there. As far as internal work updates, we created an onboarding checklist for new commissioners to ensure that there's an official onboarding process to track information being presented to commissioners, which increases accountability for commissioners as well as us as an office to make sure that we're providing consistent and clear information to folks. We have 5 new commissioners who were confirmed during May that have been all successfully onboarded. So I'm extremely happy to report that. Also, just giving another recap since the last meeting on the 15th of May, we did held May legislative days. We had a good turnout as far as commissioners, had a lot of important meetings with legislators. Overall was a really well-received event, and we do look forward to doing something similar, maybe not to the full extent in September, but definitely setting up those meetings with legislators. We're also going to continue to work on the ARB or the agency's request budget that is due at the end of this month. So that is something that we're actively working on and starting to queue up those conversations that we'll have with legislators in the next session for the 25 session. Also continuing to work with the governor's office in regards to our POP and LC request. So the 2 legislative concepts or LCs that are being moving forward are the OAC statute standardization and as well as changing administrator to executive director in the OAC's guiding statute. For statute standardization, that is something that I would love to bring to the next commission meeting as well, as we will need some formal votes prior to the bill being introduced. Just to provide a little bit of insight to that, we're trying to standardize all 4 advocacy commissions into like one very similar statute. Right now, they're all over the place. They were created in multiple decades. So as one would imagine, the language is all over the place. So doing our, standardizing our statutes for each commission is going to be crucial to provide, excellent support to all commissioners and just as easier on us as staff. I would just want to be clear, we're not taking away any duties in the statutes. We're just making them more user-friendly. And again, that's something that all commissions will need to vote on. Y'all will definitely see it in advance as Legislative Council is currently drafting that. For our policy option packages, we have 3 that we're moving forward as an agency as of right now. There was also some news in regards to changing the funding formula for public schools. That's going to take about $550 million. So there may be a chance that we do not have the green light for all 3 pops at this moment. To go into a little bit of detail, we're going to extend the health equity team to the sunset date of the bill, House Bill 2925, which passed in the 2023 legislative session, which declares or extends the work on racism as a public health crisis. And those positions are set to end June 30th of 2026. So we're just doing the formal extension in that regard. As it relates to the second POP, we're going to establish 2 new positions as of right now, which will start midway through the next biennium. So on July 1st, 2026, we'll have 2 new positions that 100% support the advocacy commissions. That would be assisting Kyle with the policy work and potentially another person that will have some policy work in their position and also more administratively supporting the commissions. The third POP or policy option package that was pushed forward is language translation services, essentially providing interpreters in public meetings. So that's the third POP that we did receive the green light for. As mentioned before, currently working on the Joint Commission meeting as of right now. It's set for August 30th. 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Salem. Currently working on a draft for that joint meeting and going to be involving commissioners in the planning process. Okay, and just to highlight activities from sister commissions. So commissioners continuing to express interest in having the governor attend and host us. Currently working through Andre as well as the governor's executive appointments team to set something up likely for the fall or winter of this year, whether that is a reception or just, in my opinion, more of a policy focused meeting with the governor to advise her on the priority areas from each commission. So something we're actively continuing to work around. Also, OCHA, our Oregon Commission on Hispanic Affairs, will be hosting an event to honor braceros. That's going to be on August 2nd, 2024 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Portland at the Oregon Historical Society. All commissioners are encouraged to attend when available. I don't have any other updates. If anybody else on the team has any updates, feel free to jump in. And I do stand corrected. It is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. For the Bracero event on August 2nd.
Great, thank you, Terrence. Our next agenda item is public comment. And I'm not sure what this is for. Maybe somebody can help me with this topic. Just if we have public attending for their comments. Do we have any?
Absolutely. We do have one person from the public that I see. Timaya Dinar. And I also see she's muted. So let me allow Mike really quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, I'm here. My name is Tamaya Denard. I am the state partnerships manager for an organization called Represent Women, and we are headquartered in Silver Spring, Maryland. And our job, what we see our mission is gender parity in politics. So I'm new in my role, so I'm just here to learn a little bit more about the landscape and what's happening in Oregon, as I am many other states, to figure out how we can best assist and learn what's happening so that we can understand the barriers to gender parity in Oregon and in each respective state, understand that each state is different. So I really appreciate being on this call today.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, moving on. Good of the order. Next meeting is September 20th from noon to 3 p.m. And Ava, you usually put out a call for agenda items. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. And then announcements. Any announcements or other business? And again, I cannot see if there's any hands up, so maybe somebody can help me cue that.
No hands present.
Chair, oh, I didn't raise my hand. I have an update that effective July, I'm representing our commission with the new state commission called, I think, America 250. Thank you. Thank you, Terrence. I, for a moment, had a blackout. And I believe we will meet first time on August 6th at Oregon Historical Society. And it's a fusion of members from all across our commissions and some. And I'm really excited because I've never been a part of such an endeavor. And I'm eagerly awaiting our next meeting to provide a feedback on working across state to celebrate America's birthday in a way we can to minimize existing inequities and promote voices that maybe would not be otherwise presented in celebration of our country. So yeah, that's my update.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Hansberger. Any other announcements or other business? Okay, hearing none. We are at adjourning. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed on adjourning? Hearing none, this meeting is concluded. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in September, if not before.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Recording has stopped.
All right, perfect. Let's hop